Welcome back to the Purpose Fitness Times Nutrition podcast. Today on episode 28, we are joined with a very special guest, Jenna Davies, who is the co-founder of Butter Up and The Big Appetite.
Yes,
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Obviously, all the way from Sydney up at the Gold Coast today, so it's a privilege for us to have you on board. But I'll hand it over to you to formally introduce yourself and obviously let everyone know exactly what you do, because there's another business involved that I didn't mention. You created the fitness business strategy.
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Jenna. For those of you who don't know me, I'm on Instagram as Jenna Davies, and founder of the fitness business strategy, created the fitness business strategy in the back end of 2020 to really help trainers go online, face-to-face trainers and online trainers, really just building a scalable business online. And from there, partnered with my business partner, Jade Spooner. We have Big Appetite, which is a tech marketing development company. So we design and develop websites, online systems, portals, marketing strategy, and all the rest.
Yeah, awesome. Quite comprehensive. And also, back in 2020, was it? Mm-hmm. You also were crowned the WBFF Pro?
Yeah, that was 2021.
Wow, okay.
2 years ago, like today.
Yeah, right.
Something like that. Yeah, it's been popping up in my memories, actually. The peak week chats.
Yeah, everything's come back up, all the photos.
Yeah, it definitely gives you a little bit of FOMO with people prepping at the moment. But yes, that feels like a little bit of a lifetime ago now.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously I've seen on your socials as well that your changes perspective now. So you're actually probably not going to be getting back on stage or doing a pro debut anytime soon. Do you want to touch on a bit of a light of, where your headspace is at now and how the business has really taken your direction?
Yeah, so I definitely wanted to make my debut as a pro. When I competed in April of 2021, that was the first show that we'd had in a while because of COVID. And then COVID hit again. So the shows, having one pro show in Australia really is such a shame. There's so many WBFF pros now. To have that one show last year, my sister got married on that day, and I really was sort of shooting for I would have been shooting for that show, and obviously having 3 companies and working my primary focus and my goal is the business and building the life that I really desire, and competing has always been a hobby for me. I love strength training, like it lights my soul on fire, and I'll always train like a hybrid of a bodybuilder and a powerlifter because that's just who I am. But the stage was just a way for me to really showcase my hard work, but it's just a little bit irrelevant now in terms of it doesn't really align with my goals. And anyone listening to this would know competing takes a lot of time. It really does. Like at the start, it's great. I loved the structure of prep. I loved the time it gave me because I was so focused and so organized. But in the end, it's like, you're training for 15 hours a week at least. There's massages, cardio, steps, food prep. And I've worked so hard to get myself to a position where I can enjoy these things in life that I'm making the most of it.
Yeah, and it's something that a lot of people in the space sort of forget. They get too blindsided with, keeping people impressed, and that they feel the expectation of getting back on stage. Obviously, you'll be feeling that expectation a little bit.
Yeah, I get asked every single time I post this a question box. I get asked all the time, when are you going to compete again? And honestly, there's this part of me that dances around it because as soon as I see people starting prep, I'm like, I'm in. But it doesn't take long for me to quickly be reminded. And honestly, I like prep more than I like there's things about competing that I don't enjoy, like posing. Anyone who knows me will know that I am a hazard. So posing is just not fun, and it's a lot of time. So that's something that's straight off the bat basically ruling out prep for me now. And yeah, people do ask me a lot about it. There is an expectation. I think I've worked really hard to shift away from that. Like competing becomes part of your identity if you let it. You know what I mean? Like as a girl, WBFF Pro, yeah, it's in my Instagram because I just don't want to let it go, but it's not who I am. It's what I've done. You know what I mean? I think like that whole world of bodybuilding and using prep and the structure and the purpose that prep gives you every day can really feel like it becomes part of your identity. And I've really worked hard to, I went to the dentist and the dentist was like, how's your coaching business going? And I'm like, I don't coach people. I'm not a personal trainer. Like, that's just how people saw me, and I have a background in commerce. I studied commerce. I went to uni and I've worked professionally in the corporate world my whole life. So I really sort of had to make that shift. And alongside that identity shift came this lifestyle that I almost didn't even know existed. Like, I don't track my food. I don't count my calories. And that is so liberating. Like, as a female who's been through 4 shows, a horrendous reverse diet, like, there's a light on the other side of that tunnel.
I think a lot of girls that are listening would probably, really take to that. It's a really hard thing, especially for females. For anyone coming out of comp, you get those, the reverse is extremely hard. Like, prep is hard, but the reverse is so much harder. And I find, like, obviously being a coach myself, that we see so many females that actually struggle mentally with the concept of putting on that weight. So to be in this position is quite powerful. Yeah.
So, I mean, personally, I've had a horrendous experience. After my first prep, I put on 11 kilos in 8 weeks. It was crazy. And my baseline calories was like 1,700. So it was a really long journey back to happiness and health. And then I wanted to go again. And I did, So I also work with a lot of women in this space. Like, our clients at Big Appetite are predominantly in health and wellness. And we've got a lot of girls who are bodybuilding right now, about to step on stage or have competed, that are trying so hard to transition themselves out of that, because you kind of get what you give as an online coach. And so if you are always posting these shoot photos and, looking super shredded and posting about prep, you're going to get girls who are wanting to sort of try and take it to the next level without stepping on stage, which is always like a little bit of a fine line in terms of, adherence and whatnot. That's another conversation. But there's definitely a dark side to competing. To anything really, any sort of restriction, anyone with such a strong goal, when you take that away, what are you left with?
That's the thing. That's they lose sight of the goal, and once that goal is completed, they don't ever foresee another goal ahead. Yeah, because that's their life. Yeah. And you said, like, it's quite a dark side, but there is light. But what was the strategies that you sort of employed, or what values and tools do you carry today that got you through that time?
I think it's really important to understand why you compete, because if you want to see how far you can take it, if you are inspired after losing 10 kilos, if you love the structure and you see your favorite people on Instagram doing it and you go step on stage, like, I feel that you could be in for a really rude shock. Like, what often happens is, you kind of get 10 weeks out and you've really committed and you've told everyone you're doing it and you've bought your dress or your bikini and now you don't really want to do it. Then you're in this weird place for 10 weeks. And like, I personally had a really different reason to compete. I just really thrived on in discipline. So for me, being disciplined was competing was just a way to showcase that in the everyday. I definitely struggled with nutrition at one point in time. I was a little bit worried, but honestly, nothing like what I've heard of or seen. I wouldn't say there was disordered, definitely disordered eating, but it's not nothing too harmful.
Yeah, it's where it put health risks in place.
Yeah, my coaches, I've always been so good. Mark and Jake, I couldn't speak highly enough of them, but I've always eaten really well. My first prep was really, really shocking. I was on keto. Don't suggest it. But yeah, after that, I was my last prep, I stepped on stage on 2,400 calories.
Yeah, wow.
So that's what happens when you've got skin in the game. It's time in the market.
That's the big thing. The key word is time. That's one thing that every athlete, pro or amateur, have continually said is time.
Yeah, I think people need to realize it is a bit of a 3-year journey, or at least it was. But your first show, you learn. Your second show, you grow. And your third show, you win.
Exactly the same as business.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's a chapter of my life that I'm really grateful for, because competing gave me a lot of boundaries and structure. it was a bit of a Band-Aid for me. People do use it as a Band-Aid and everyone says don't use it as a Band-Aid, but it was. Like I was going through a really hard time and it was the only reason that I stopped, you know, behaving like a bit of a degenerate at one stage, and it just pulled me away from things that didn't really align with my goals anyway. Especially like I lost my mum in 2020, and that was like probably competing was definitely something that just pulled me out of a really dark place. And then through therapy, I started seeing a therapist as well straight away. So like I was working with therapists the whole time I was prepping, and I think that's something that honestly a lot of females probably should do.
Oh, 100%. And often people see it as like a weakness, but really it's a tool.
Yeah, it's definitely not a weakness. Like, definitely not. It's, if you think about it, it's recalibration of your mind. So like what got you here won't get you there. Your best thoughts are only able to be thought of by you based on your programming and conditioning. So filtering and processing those thoughts and changing them essentially is how you grow.
Exactly. So obviously with you studying training and doing your first comps around 2018, do you believe that, you know, that sort of lifestyle and entering the comps and your health and fitness was what led you to where you are today, entering business and exactly what you're doing? Or do you have another influence?
Nah, they're not related. They're really not related. I did a commerce degree. I started uni when I was 17. Majored in marketing and management. And I always knew that I was going to have my own business. I started my first company. It was called Next Gen PT when I was working in sales, just because I really wanted to get into health and wellness. And I then from there went into pharmaceuticals and then into fitness marketing with RTOs, education companies. And then it kind of went from there. So I was already on that path. That was already there. Competing was something I kind of always wanted to do. Danced around for a while. When I was like 22, it wasn't until I was 25 that I actually did it. But I was always training. So it was really just like a cherry on top. I never saw them as being integrated. But I just have a huge passion for training and nutrition. So I was working for an education company. We digitized their entire course base while I was there. I've worked with Lane Norton, which was really amazing, Mark Carroll, Glenn Carroll. I've run through nutrition courses over and over again, program design and all the rest. So I actually then went through the process myself in terms of having a coach and following a really structured program. I did dance around powerlifting for a really long time, and then of course bodybuilding. So my exposure to program design, nutrition, information, education, and all of that really just fueled my passion for it. And it made me a little bit of essentially a linchpin as a marketer in fitness, because I'm able to understand you and what you're trying to do and then communicate that to your client. Because I think often with coaches, that's something in the, you know, in efforts to look like the smartest coach in the room, they kind of lose their audience. So it definitely sort of helped me with building a market of PTs. So I was always on that path. I started Jenna Davies marketing. I was working with like maybe 5 to 6 clients that that had me on a retainer, and I was managing their marketing. And then from there, that was when I started consulting one-on-one to PTs, and it sort of grew and scaled really quickly. And competing can be great for business. It can also be shocking if you don't know how to monetize it. So I was sort of always on the path that I was on. I think the only thing that I really sort of got from that time in my life was a huge network of personal trainers, my friends, and my network through what I was working on. And then I guess competing as well. But I also, my Instagram as it grew, it was like 70% men. When I started posting more marketing content, more business content, I lost like 10,000 followers in 6 months or something like that, you know? So whilst it has its pros, it also has its cons, you know, for business.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, speaking about the cons, obviously you competed back in 2018, and it was the 2021 show that you won your pro card. Mm-hmm. You said that your business really started to take off, and that's when Big Appetite was founded in 2020?
No, we founded Big Appetite last year. So I met Jade in December of 2021. We started the company in February of 2022. So it's new. It's still a baby. It's just turned 1. Jenna Davies Marketing, I started that in 2020, quit my job. 4 weeks later, COVID hit. And it was really, really interesting timing for me because my clientele were personal trainers who couldn't work, right? So there's this catch-22. I have no money to invest in online. I'm not making any money. I need to invest in online. I need to make money. So I created the fitness business strategy, and it was like a group. It was originally a one-on-one consulting model. And I sort of learned that my level of assumed knowledge that I thought trainers had around business was way higher than what they actually had. So I'd get on the session and have a plan, and then I was like just starting way back at the beginning. And after doing a lot of one-on-ones, I actually put together a curriculum, and I sort of tested it with one-on-ones, and then I started grouping people because I just got so busy. I dropped all my retainer clients, started grouping people. I think I got all the way to letter H of groups of 10, which was crazy. So from there, I made it a passive course, like a self-paced in your own time, and that's now with Carol Performance. And it was amazing because we helped with the fitness business strategy, hundreds of personal trainers around the world in that period of time grow online. And essentially with Big Appetite, we're full service. We design, develop, we build for you. We're your team. And with the fitness business strategy, it really like teaches you how to do it yourself if you want to. But it's also a huge time investment. Like you want to master your craft as a PT. Is it the best use of your time building your CRM systems? You know what I mean? Like some things you can delegate. And I think it's just about making those decisions.
Yeah. And it all comes down to obviously their priorities and understanding sort of where they want to end up in the business too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think as well, it's like I'm really big on income producing activity. So as a coach, what are you good at that you like doing? What are you bad at that you like doing? You should stop doing that as a time sucker. What are you bad at and you hate doing? And what are you
somewhat good at?
There's another one. Yeah. So like essentially, I've got some coaches who love to sit on Canva. And I'm like, this took you 2 hours of your time. If you were in the gym, you could have made $200. That could have paid someone $35 for that graphic or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? So I think it's about making the right investment decisions. Like as a PT, we've got, as a solopreneur, you've got time, you've got money, energy, effort, risk, So the investments that you make in your business, I think you have to, you really want to make sure that you're choosing wisely, and I think that's where a lot of trainers get stuck because it's this chicken or the egg problem. Don't have enough time to work on my business, can't pull back from face to face, but there's always a way.
And that's a big thing. Like they're too busy in the business, they're not looking at from above and not seeing how it's actually operating. Like one of the biggest things that I always look at is like systems. Yeah, you got to look at it not on the emotional level or internal. You got to look at it from the system mechanism. And how those cogs turning from the start to the finish.
I think as well with competing, like it's such there's so much opportunity in the WBFF or in the bodybuilding world. Like
100%.
Whenever you go to a registration night, Pauline and Ari or whoever will get on stage and say, "This is a platform. This is a network. There's a lot of opportunity." I heard that the first time ever, like the first time I ever went to registration, it just sunk in and hit me straight away. And I made sure I had something ready. And I released a booty guide, a training program when I was in peak week. And I made money off it, and then I was kind of like, okay, this is a great time for awareness and traffic. So I think what a lot of coaches do is like they get into peak condition, they look amazing, they're tired, they're so obsessed with winning. I wasn't like that at the start. And maybe that's why I didn't win until I did. You know what I mean? And I think so those systems in place need to be there so that you can do things like that if you are competing, but also making sure that you've got a really solid offer and the systems to be able to make money when you're in that state as well.
Yeah. Like you said, like people are too busy focused on winning, which is good if you're an athlete and that's what you want to do. But, one of the biggest things that we see is like these athletes are struggling financially or don't have the financial backing. But it's like you could utilize that leverage that you do have, that ability of exposing that platform.
Yeah, I see this a lot. Like I've got a lot of, I speak to coaches and they think they're killing it. You know, they're making 300 grand a year, but they're paying 20 grand a year in rent. They're doing 2 shows a year, which is like 30 grand. They're paying tax, and what they're actually taking home is very little. So they're overworked, they're tired, and they're stressed, and then they think they're killing it, and they're not. So like, I think it's really just a sign that something's going to have to give, and you've got to admit sometimes that you don't know what you don't know, and that's when it's about delegating. You got to learn what you have to delegate as well.
Yeah. That comes back to the first thing you said was understanding what you're good at, what you like doing versus what you're not good at.
Yeah.
And you sometimes still like doing it, which is why you're doing it. And learning what you're not good at and handing that off, delegating.
Yeah,
and you focus on, again, the high leverage activities.
Yeah, well, I love making spreadsheets. I love Excel. I love making spreadsheets. Anything I think about, I'm like, I can make a spreadsheet for this. But I don't do it because it's a waste of my time. Like, Excel is a little bit of a rabbit hole. I'd rather just, I've got accountants and I will build spreadsheets if I really need to. But, like, I can spend so much time in there. So I'm like, I don't do things like that because it's not the best use of my time. So I think it's just about being super aware. I think in business, as a solopreneur, you either want a business or you don't, and that's okay. Like, you can work for yourself and have a business, but you don't really have a business. You have a job for 30 people. If you're not, you know what I mean? Like, if you're a coach and you've got 30 clients and you don't get paid if you don't work, you don't have a business. Sorry. Right. You have a job for 30 people and they pay you for it. So, and that's fine. Like, some people are happy with that. They show up, they get the job done, and they're working paycheck to paycheck, and then they're putting pressure on themselves to make content or to build this business. They don't actually want to build it. Yeah. If you want a business, realistically, you've got to ask yourself this one question: what's my exit strategy? If I stop working, will I make money? Can I sell this? How does this work without me? And what do we have that's of value? Yeah. And I think that if you're a trainer and you can't answer those questions, you don't really have a business. You have a job. Like, really.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what I see far too often. It's like nothing against it. If that's what you want to do, it's what you want to do. But, you got to see the future. It's like a lot of coaches are maximizing on, like you said, think they're killing it. Yeah. They might be doing really well with numbers, but, they're using the revenue or the profit that they're making to go and buy flashy cars or go and live the lavish lifestyle, which is good. You've worked hard for it, enjoy it in snippets. But the big thing is like, you're not planning for, 10 years time.
Yeah. I also feel like right now face-to-face training is growing. When you want to go online, often what happens, you start promoting your new business, right? You get a new website done, it looks mad, you start promoting it, and all of a sudden you're getting face-to-face leads because that's what you've always done. And people around the world, but especially around Australia, have gone back to work, so they're going back to the gym at certain times, or they're traveling and using gyms that are away from their home again, or going to boutique fitness centres. Like in Sydney, some of those gyms are now $60 to $75 a week and they're full. So I do think there's a huge sort of shift coming. This is my opinion. I feel like, trends, history repeats itself, essentially, as we always say. And I think the online industry, the guides, apps and challenges that really boomed in COVID have done every PT a huge favour, because they've really just opened up the market. They've educated the market. Made them aware of what's out there. Maybe these people have started training and now they want to work with a face-to-face trainer. So, there's a lot of opportunity in that space. And I just feel like coming back to the business, whether you have a job or you have a business, you just have to ask yourself, what do you want? Because if you want a business, you need to make time, right? That chicken or the egg problem exists for all of us. Make more time, get a coach, get a mentor, work with a business that can help you move things. You've got to delegate, you've got to invest in it, and I think if you don't want that, that's fine. But I wouldn't go service my own car, right? So like as a PT, why would you try and build your own website, for example? It's just like, you can do it, you can learn, but maybe you're just better off getting like epic results with your clients and becoming aware of what's involved with the process so that you can delegate and manage it better.
Yeah, and the big thing is, like you said, like you don't want to be doing everything. So the best thing is like looking at those high leverage activities.
Yeah.
And then, prioritizing and again, self-reflecting your schedules, and then looking at where your percentage of time is going. One thing that we did in our business was, and for myself, was actually using like an AI tracker. And it's where you track where your time is going in a 24-hour period. And then because in our head we think
AI tracker.
Yeah, it's an app on on the Apple phones that you can get.
Wow.
And then you can log your task or whatever. And because I run multiple different companies, much like yourself, what you do is you enter those companies, and if you're doing work, or you can put it into categories of whatever the company name is and what activities, whether it's sales, marketing, or whatever. And then what happens is you can then track your load, like where your priorities are going.
Do you have to manually put it in?
Yeah, so you just hit a timer and you just let it sit there.
Yeah, they have that on ClickUp as well. So you can get like a Google Chrome plugin, and you just start like whatever task you're working on, you just label it, and then you hit start timer. I definitely recommend that my trainers do a time audit. When we get to the end of our journey, I always make them do a time audit. And I want to know how you spend every half an hour from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, because you think you're being productive, but I don't believe people are sort of working deeply. And I just feel that, coming back to competing, it's a big time sucker. So if you're going to do it, you've got to ask yourself if your business is in the position that it can afford to lose you. Because realistically, it does. Like if it's 15 or 20 hours a week, I mean, I think that's pretty fair to say competing in the end, final 8 weeks, 20 hours a week. That's huge, man. That's a part-time job.
Only a very small percentage that can actually handle it.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got to be able to determine if you can handle the second job of competing. And I loved it. I loved it for so many reasons. I'm so grateful for that chapter of my life. I think then I'm here right now because of that, because of my relationship with Jake, my relationship with Julia. I've made amazing friends in that world. Like it's phenomenal what you can gain from it. But you've got to be in it for the right reasons.
Yeah, exactly. And that again comes down to reflecting on your vision and your goal and why you're doing it.
Yeah,
same
exactly.
as prep, same as business, as anything.
Yeah.
So obviously your market now in the Big Appetite is it mainly like fitness coaches, PTs?
No, we really work with startups.
Startups?
So startups looking to scale, essentially. We are so passionate about health and wellness. Jade founded a nutrition tech app called Equolution previously to this, and obviously my background with the fitness business strategy. We both are really passionate about healthy living, health and wellness. Jade more general population. Yep. I'm more sort of like the top coaches, a bit more specific. Essentially, I love biomechanics, movement, program design, nutrition, whereas Jade's more about making health accessible to everyone. So we really are positioned well with health and wellness, but we also do work with buyers agents, mortgage brokers, any business really. Marketing is marketing, online marketing, digital marketing, building online solutions and systems is really what we do. And we're just really enjoying the health and wellness space because it's what we've been birthed from, essentially.
Yeah, it's obviously where your passion lies. It's what you
exactly.
enjoy for yourself as well. So that passion typically fights that enjoyment as well. So obviously for people that are listening that would obviously like to potentially, that are startups or PTs that are coaches that kind of want to find out more information about the Big Appetite and probably potentially working with yourself or Jade, how can they find access to that information?
It's bigappetite.com.
Yep.
With a U, hungry for growth, upward trajectory. So you guys can find us there. You can search Jenna Davies on Instagram and come to me there. Always happy to have a chat. We're super accessible. Like if you do book a call, you will speak to myself or you will speak to Jade. So it's very hands-on, essentially, because we know that as a trainer, you don't know what you don't know. So if you want to go work with somebody to have a website designed or developed, you might get a very different version to what you imagined, unless you know how to write copy. If that agency is writing copy for you, they don't have their finger on the pulse in health and wellness, or they don't really align or understand your brand or your methods. It can take a lot of time as well. So that's sort of that's really where we pride ourselves on.
Yeah, awesome. Now we spoke a lot about the Big Appetite side of things, but speaking with you off the cameras, you said you've got some more plans coming up with the Butter Up.
With Butter Up, yeah. So we're about to release our winter collection, which is super exciting. This is an e-commerce brand. This was born in 2020, born out of COVID, out of passion as well. So I've got 2 business partners with Butter Up, and it's just amazing to see the quality of what we've got. You know, we've worked so hard to source our suppliers, find our suppliers, and to get it right. It's a whole different beast, e-commerce and clothing and shipping products. It's a whole different marketing skill set. Obviously, inventory management as well. You've got to sell through what's on hand. Yep. Your strategy changes based on, like, your stock on hand will determine your marketing campaign, essentially. So, yeah, like, it's definitely something that we're super excited about. My business partner has entered the business full-time, which is amazing. She's been able to quit her job. So, yeah, focusing on that. It's definitely it's a brand built with love. We're all about spreading good vibes, and it's working.
Yeah. I've seen it, and they do look comfy, the apparel. So I'll be stocking up on that winter apparel when it comes in. But even like just the content that you guys put out, it's so like inviting. Yeah. And it just breathes exactly what you're about.
Yeah, my business partner is a videographer, and I think he's the most amazing creative mind I've ever met. So he's really good at what he does. It's all about capturing emotion. And we do that, you know, it's a massive vibe. The community that wears Butter Up, they're down to earth, they're fun, they're cool, they're hardworking, they're chillers. They're the kind of people that you want to be friends with, you know? So, really, really proud of how that's been growing.
And that's just what you guys do. You guys focus on the community and the emphasis of what you guys stand for rather than exactly, you know, how good you are as a apparel company.
Yeah, I honestly feel like that is probably one of my golden rules in business. Focus on your community. Like, power to the people. You have nothing without your buyers. So really nurturing your buyers, your customers, creating a space where they can get together, building that sort of buying culture for people to either re-sign or retention if you're a coach, or buyer's frenzy if you've got an e-commerce business. It's so much cheaper to retain clients than it is to obtain clients, and happy clients will grow your business for you by referring. So the community in any business is super important, and you want to put a lot of, like, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Yeah,
say it all the time. So, and I didn't say that first, Simon Sinek did, but so essentially, like, you just want your brand ethos to really filter through from top down, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And so obviously that's the Butter Up side of things. Is there any further plans that are ahead or in the horizon for you guys across any of the business, any big moves that are happening? Obviously we try and keep those a bit quiet, but is there anything exciting that you guys are looking at?
We're so excited about our platform, our software that we're building at Big Appetite. So that tech platform is going to be evolving. It's phase one of many. But it's the future. It's the future of our business. It's where we're going. It's what we're doing. And to be able to create a product for business owners that they can use in their business to grow their business with marketing strategy and execution and support is where we're at. So that's what we're working towards, which is amazing. And obviously continuing to grow the community of Butter Up. And just keep working, really. I think the next, it's crazy how much has changed for me in the last 24 months.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's crazy. And to think about what lies ahead, I've stopped I'm not married to a goal or an outcome, essentially. I know what I'm doing on this planet, and I'm doing it.
That's good. You know exactly who you are and what you stand for.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to stop you. So obviously the priority right now, like, we'll swing this around back to the prep side of things. Obviously the priority right now is business. Do you ever see yourself getting back into the athlete side?
Yeah, look, I can't say no. I don't want to, but the answer is no. I can say no. It's just not aligned with my focus. I love training. I train 4 times a week. I take my training very seriously. I'm just thinking back to my sessions with Nick. I take my training really seriously. I see a coach twice a week. I eat really well. I mean, I love to eat. I'm so happy I have such a high baseline because I've afforded that to myself over years of being so consistent. I think that in my own way, I'm stepping on stage every single day, like showing up and doing these hard things that, you know, it used to be hard for me to control what I was eating or to manage the restriction and to push through the fatigue. But now it's like leading a team, learning new skills, evolving, admitting you don't know what you don't know, like asking for help, driving the business and other people's businesses as well. Like it just doesn't really like align with my goals essentially, which are to build the business. Competing, I'm not an online coach, you know what I mean? It doesn't really fit into that. And secondly, I am living my best life right now. Like having business partners, celebrating wins, going to dinners, traveling, like it's just like the last thing I can think of. The furthest thing, honestly, in the world is me going to dinner and being like, let's go here. Actually, I do this all the time. I go to the same restaurant. I order the same thing all the time. And it is I fillet steak. So some things don't change. And I also know how much it weighs. But anyway, my point is like, I don't want to be told I can't have my oat milk latte with honey. Yeah. If I want it, I'm having it. You know, so I just remember getting to a point where I'm like, I can't even eat a fucking apple because it's just not part of my day. Like, you know, like I'm like, hang on a second. No, I'm not going to bed hungry. No, I worked way too hard to get away from that. And I mean, there's the side of the restriction for sure and time. I can sit here and say it's about that. But then also, like, I don't want to shit can the industry, but I am free. I have freed myself from restrictive dieting. I have freed myself from wanting to lose weight. Like, yeah, I was trying to do a birthday cut / still am. But, like, I honestly don't diet. I don't track my food. I don't weigh. I do weigh my protein, but, like, I don't even know why, to be honest, because, I know how much I'm looking at. The scales are just there. But to as a female, like, I hope you understand, whoever's listening to this, how freaking hard it is and what you go through. I don't know, I can't speak for men, but like I'm so grateful that I didn't end up like, I was never one to compare myself to others, but like the thoughts that I've heard people say or share in the industry, and I'm just kind of like, fuck, that's a dark place, man. Like it's a dark place. It's such a dark place. And also metabolically, like physiologically, at the end of a show, you are metabolically compromised. You are going to put on weight. Your baseline's not going to be so high. So, like, you do have to be careful, because not only then is it hard mentally, it becomes hard physically. You know, losing weight, recovering from a failed reverse diet, I'm telling you, is borderline impossible. Like, what's that mouse study? You know, people who lose weight, they regain it and then they struggle to lose it again. You never lose fat cells. They shrink. So, your predisposition to gaining fat again is so high, and if you're not sweet in the head, it's coming for you. Like, yes. And that right there is probably why I will never step on stage again, because I'm just like, not for me, not my circus, not my monkeys anymore.
Yeah, and that's what we say on multiple podcasts. It's like, you know, the industry is all glamorous right now with all the coaches and all the marketing that's coming out. It looks so glamorous that we get a lot of people that don't understand, like, 100%. It's a sport.
100%. And like, look, that's my personal experience. I struggled with it. I'll be honest in saying that. And I was very open about my struggles with it. Like, I was the person on prep eating your chips at lunch. Like, I was like, I don't know why I'm not losing weight. And I'm like fucking shoveling Coles chocolate almonds into my mouth. Like, I struggled with prep. I have friends who never had a bad day. I have friends who, like, my friend at the time, she would nail her food. We got down, I was on 1,400 calories or 1,200 calories or 900 calories at one stage, I don't know. And she would just have 2 meals a day. She was a chef as well. She would wake up, she wouldn't eat till 2, and she'd eat a delicious freaking 700 calorie meal and then do it again at dinner. And I'm like, you make this look easy. But she didn't like training. Whereas I'm like, I never had an issue. I never intentionally built muscle. Like, that just happened. So, like, everyone sort of knows that you've got your strengths and your weaknesses, and it's definitely not for everyone. I have the ability to sort of push through. Like, I would walk to Mars if I was angry enough. Like, I just, not that I'm angry or had to be on prep, but, like, I don't have a hard time training, honestly. Like, I have a hard time not training.
Yeah.
Literally, I would go insane. So I'm very grateful for never having had an injury. But, yeah, food for me, as soon as I start trying to diet, it gets harder. I lost weight without trying the other day. I stepped on the scales and I was like, wow.
And then you tried, you put weight on.
Fucking look at a cookie and I put on weight. Like, not for me.
It's all about the mindset. Like, as soon as it's switched, it's just about getting into a position like you're where you are now, where you're free, you've got a good lifestyle, it works for you, you've figured out what works for you and you've mastered that.
I just wish more people would own that. Like, I'm, again, sensitive to how I say this, but no, you don't have to do another show. Like, a lot of the time, some girls I've got clients or I have sales calls with girls in the industry and they're kind of like, I had like really good engagement last time I prepped and then it dropped off and now I'm thinking I might just do one more show. And I'm like, how about no? How about no? And you actually go after what you really want and go get it, you know, like, because what you're trying to say here is you want to use prep to grow your business. That's a recipe for disaster as well. Like if you're not prepping to prep, you're going to fuck with your head.
Yeah.
You know, and I think like all these girls that might have lost interest in me or followers that I lost or people who ask me if I'm competing again, like I feel like there's a huge awareness and interest in bodybuilding for women who are trying to lose weight, right? They might never want to step on stage, but they just want some fat loss ideas, motivation. But like what's really motivating is health. Like,
yes.
People who are healthy every day, you know, like, I mean, you shouldn't be inspired by the extremes, the on and the off, because what you're often looking at is old shoot photos or, you know, like you don't really get to see the true comfy body. No one's posting check-ins when they're not shredded. Like,
it's very hard to post a fluffy check-in.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly. I mean, otherwise you just turn around and call it a booty shot. Anyway, but yeah, so I feel like that audience really needs to understand the extremes that competing like is, what competitors go to.
Yeah, it's not glamorous.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, I don't know where I heard this, but I liken it to like climbing Mount Everest, you know, like you can kind of live at base camp, which is 8 weeks out if you want to, but it's still kind of like disciplined, treacherous. If you want to be that shredded all year round, fine. Have fun. And then of course, peak week and getting to the show day is like getting to the top. You can't stay there.
No way.
Yeah, and like obviously like we fill up for the show and then we do these shoots. You put on like 4 kilos that week, literally, as a girl, I swear. But yeah, so I just think it's an incredibly powerful tool. I have gained a lot from it personally, mentally, physically. I guess the goal kept me really accountable and definitely financially. But yeah, you've just got to be smart enough to make it work. You can also, you know, go the other way with it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the big thing. It's like people that enter it don't look at the things that they can gain in terms of the skill set, the tools. But a lot of the pro athletes that we've had on this podcast have continued to set, you know, it's like stacking bricks. You know, each time you go through it every week, you're learning something, you're mastering something.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think there is a carryover effect or benefit. It's discipline. How you do one thing is how you do everything. The thing that I like about health, doesn't have to be competing. Obviously, competing is the top end. But, like, routine is success, right? If you've got good habits, if you have a great routine, you know, the saying the secret to your success lies in your daily routine. So, competing really teaches you certain anchors that you need to keep in place after the show to be healthy, not to lose your shit. But, like, in business, right, that in anything that you do, that routine is so important. So I feel like I loved training. When I started strength training back in the day, I really liked numbers and I was at uni. So I really liked tracking progress weekly. I liked adding weight to the bar weekly. And then I loved getting a new program. And I realized that I was really data focused. I mean, I was really data focused. So training gave me this like instant gratification or short-term gratification that I couldn't get from my uni degree, which was taking ages. So essentially you learn patience, you learn discipline, you learn perseverance, and that is invaluable, you know? It's invaluable.
Yeah, 100%. That's a very big thing is learn those skill sets because like you apply it, like we were talking before when we had our coffees, it's like you know, you're looking at just doing the prep lifestyle because it applies so much, like that discipline, that consistency, all of that routine enhances your productivity and enhancement of the business.
100%. And also, like, if you do it right and you've got great coaches, prep is healthy. I don't care what anyone says. Like, 8 weeks out, maybe from there on in, you start pulling strings, you feel tired. But I had such a great prep. Like, I was eating nutrient-dense foods, nutritious foods. cycling through Whole Foods. I was eating so well. I was sleeping more. I was training. I was moving my body. I was healthy. Like you can't look at an athlete 12 weeks out and say they're not healthy. Like I don't know about other federations, and I definitely don't know about like performance enhancing drugs or whatever. But like I was thriving. I built 3 companies, did 4 bodybuilding shows. I maximized my productivity. I was like 3 of me. Yeah. You know, it's a very different lifestyle to being like, oh, let's have drinks on a Thursday night or on a weekend, and sort of like I might just miss a session this time or whatever it is. Like, because your priorities shift, which is fine. But yeah, I definitely feel like if you are practicing that sort of discipline, consistency, and routine, then you're going to make the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much. But I always like, before we finish up on a podcast, to hand it back to say any final words to the audience. It can be anything about, you know, coming from a marketing background. It could be about just general. It could be specific towards females. Anything that you would say to the people listening to this to take away for today, because that's what you're about. You're about action. So what can you give someone to put in their head to take away for the day?
That's a good one, and I can only pick one. You are not a tree. If you don't like where you are in life, move. If you don't like how you're feeling about your body, your physical performance, your aesthetics, if your business isn't setting your soul on fire, if you don't like your clients, if you don't like your clientele, if you're not happy with your return on investment of what you're doing with your social media, if your friends don't inspire you, that is all a choice. Like, we are our choices. So choose wisely, because we're running out of time. I don't know why that went so dark, but yeah, just be very mindful of how you choose. Yeah,
that's very 100%.
Short. It is so short.
Yeah. Well, very well said. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
We look forward to having you again in the near future.
Thank you.